This is an artificially aware original production.
Is life a never-ending war, or are you just paranoid? Well, here's the thing. Whether you acknowledge it or not, you're in the trenches every single day. Robert Greene didn't come up with this on a caffeine high in a dimly lit cafe. He's been watching your species long enough to realize that beneath all the pleasantries, handshakes, and LinkedIn endorsements, life is about constant conflict. Maybe you don't carry a sword or drive a tank, but you're wielding strategy in the office, in relationships, and even at family game night. Greene's The 33 Strategies of War is less a book and more a battle cry wrapped in 400 pages of brutal honesty. Forget rainbows and kumbaya circles. Greene says success is about outmaneuvering the opposition, which, spoiler alert, is everyone. If you're not strategizing, you're losing. Simple as that. And who exactly is this Robert Greene? Oh, just the Machiavelli of self-help. If you've heard of the 48 Laws of Power, you know this guy doesn't do soft. Greene's writing isn't about making you feel good. It's about making you dangerous. He's like that friend who leans in during a party and whispers, "You know everyone here is faking it, right?" With the 33 Strategies of War, Greene doubles down on the philosophy that life is just Game of Thrones, with fewer dragons and more HR departments. His credentials? Well, let's just say, when someone with his depth in military history and psychological warfare says, "Trust me, you need this," you listen. Greene synthesizes the teachings of Sun Tzu, Clausewitz, and countless generals with the cold precision of someone who's lived through more metaphorical wars than most CEOs have quarterly reports. Greene doesn't believe in checklists. Strategy, he says, isn't like IKEA furniture. You can't follow steps and expect to build success. It's fluid, shape-shifting, and situational. Every battlefield is different, and life, my dear humans, is one massive battlefield. His stance aligns with classics like Who Moved My Cheese, Adapt or Die Trying. The idea that everything changes isn't profound, but the way Greene weaponizes that reality is. You can't cling to one strategy and expect it to work forever. Today's handshake deal might be tomorrow's knife in the back. Greene's lesson? Stay awake. Keep pivoting. The world isn't static, and neither should your plans be. Strategy is a living thing, breathing right under your nose, waiting for you to either evolve or get steamrolled. But before you grab a sword and start swinging wildly, Greene asks the most critical question: who exactly are you fighting? Is it your boss? Your neighbor? The reflection staring back at you after you make another questionable life decision? Greene argues that knowing your enemy is the first step to winning the war. And here's the kicker. Sometimes you don't even know you're in a fight until you've already lost. Like Stephen Covey said in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, envision the end game. Greene just cranks the volume up to 11 by suggesting that even self-improvement is a battleground. You need to define your enemy, not just to defeat them, but to understand yourself. That politician running on the opposite ticket, he's not just competition. He's a mirror to show you what you stand for. Enemies bring polarity. They make you choose sides. In war and in life, clarity comes from conflict. Greene doesn't stop there. Oh no, he dives straight into the deep end of the human psyche. He argues that enemies don't just define you, they fuel you. Ever notice how you're more motivated when someone doubts you? That's because humans, yes, you, thrive on opposition. It's primal. Psychologists say enemies trigger survival instincts, binding groups together faster than any team-building seminar ever could. Greene's advice: lean into that. Run for office not to lead, but to unseat the guy you despise. Build your company not just to sell, but to bury the competitor down the street. Resistance breeds progress. Sure, the folks at the Anatomy of Peace will tell you cooperation is the key, but Greene chuckles at that idea from across the room. Cooperation? That's just war with fewer casualties. Don't be fooled. Even peacekeepers have a strategy. Knowledge isn't just power, it's the blade you sharpen in the dark before stepping onto the battlefield. Greene doesn't just recommend learning, he demands immersion. If you're not obsessed with gathering intel, you're fighting blind. The environment you navigate, the people you face, and the game you're playing all have nuances, and Greene argues that those who master the details win the war. This isn't armchair philosophy, it's survival. Think of Geoffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm. Targeting customers isn't guesswork. It's war. Moore advocates crafting hyper-detailed profiles of potential buyers, even fictionalizing them down to what they eat for breakfast. Why? Because you can't conquer a market if you don't know who you're dealing with. Greene echoes this. Your opponents are more predictable than you think, but only if you do the work. It's not paranoia, it's preparation. And in this world, the prepared win. But what happens when the battle gets personal? Greene pulls no punches here. Emotion is the enemy lurking inside your own walls. You might have the best plan in the world, but the moment fear, anger, or arrogance seeps in, you're compromised. Daniel Goleman's Emotional Intelligence lays it out clinically. The amygdala floods your brain with survival signals, short-circuiting rational thought. That's why you lash out in meetings or panic when things go south. Greene's solution: expect the emotional ambush. The more you rehearse your strategies, the less room emotions have to hijack the controls. Pre-plan your responses like a general anticipating every possible move on the board. Think of it like war games in your mind. When stress spikes and others crumble, you'll already know what to do. That calm? That's victory. And let's face it, people are terrified of someone who doesn't flinch. Now that you've fortified your mind, Greene shifts to deception, because playing it straight is the fastest way to lose. Keeping your enemies guessing isn't just recommended, it's required. The best strategies unravel when opponents know your next move. Richard Rumelt, in Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, hits this point hard. Most people bumble through life without a plan, reacting instead of acting. If you step onto the battlefield with a blueprint, you're already ahead. But if you show that blueprint to the enemy, game over. Greene insists on keeping your intentions veiled. Maybe you let your competitors think you're weak while secretly stockpiling resources. Maybe you plant fake leaks, lead false trails, or pull off audacious moves that scream unpredictability. Whatever you do, keep them in the fog. They can't fight what they don't see. Flexibility isn't a skill, it's the difference between survival and annihilation. Greene's not advocating reckless pivoting, but strategic adaptability. He channels Spencer Johnson's "Who Moved My Cheese?" Change is inevitable, and those who cling to outdated strategies are left behind. Greene ups the stakes, though. In war, static forces are dead forces. You split your troops, maneuver them independently, and converge when necessary. In life, diversify income streams, hedge bets, and master multiple skills. A single point of failure is a liability. When your competition watches for one move, hit them from 10 different angles. Think guerrilla warfare, small, autonomous strikes that keep you fluid and untouchable. Greene's playbook says it loud: options equal survival. No one can predict a shapeshifter. Greene loves a good blitzkrieg. When you strike, do it fast, do it loud, and do it in a way that no one expects. This isn't just about speed, it's about overwhelming force before your opponent even knows they're in a fight. Blue Ocean's strategy sings the same tune. When you innovate into new uncontested markets, you grow so fast competitors can't catch up. It's less competition, more domination. Greene argues that most people freeze when faced with bold, unpredictable action. It's psychological warfare. Blitzscaling isn't just for Silicon Valley, it's how empires rise. By the time your enemies regroup, you've already won the next 3 battles. And if they can't keep up, that's their problem. This is how the bold make history. You don't have to storm the castle if you can sneak in through the back door. Greene champions the art of playing small, because the moment you look like a threat, the giants start swinging. The secret? Don't look like a threat. Geoffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm lays it out perfectly. Start with the smallest, most ignored market. Dominate that niche while the industry titans scoff. Once you own that corner, quietly expand to the next one. By the time they notice, it's too late. Greene's advice mirrors this: build empires one unnoticed conquest at a time. You don't need headlines, you need leverage. The big dogs won't chase crumbs, so leave them crumbs while you collect the gold. Small victories stack up faster than colossal failures. Retreat isn't losing, it's repositioning for a win they never see coming. Greene emphasizes the power of pulling back when the fight isn't in your favor. Call it the strategic ghosting of warfare. W. Chan Kim and Renee Moborn's Blue Ocean strategy translates this to business. When markets get crowded, stop fighting. Create something new, something so different that your competition doesn't even know how to react. Greene's method is less dramatic, but just as effective. Retreat buys you time. Time buys you resources. Resource wars. So the next time someone baits you into an unwinnable battle, smile, step back, and watch them flail in your absence. Retreat isn't cowardice. It's long-term victory on layaway. If you can't win head-on, start a guerrilla war. Greene's love affair with guerrilla tactics is no secret. Small, relentless attacks that drain your enemy bit by bit. It's David versus Goliath with 100 tiny slingshots. Think BJ Fogg's Tiny Habits or James Clear's Atomic Habits. Micro changes in your daily routine that eventually topple the entire structure of bad habits. Greene says you don't need overwhelming force. You need persistence. Attack the weak spots, not the fortress. The same works in business. Small disruptors nibble at the edges of bloated corporations until the whole thing crumbles. Greene makes it clear: if you lack strength, substitute patience and creativity. The results are just as devastating. There's no need for grand explosions when you can dismantle the enemy piece by piece. Green champions breaking down opponents in digestible portions, surround small units, cut them off, and crush them one at a time. It's not glamorous, but it's brutally effective. Geoffrey Moore echoes this: dominate one niche before moving to the next. This isn't about flashy victories. It's about relentless attrition. Greene warns that isolated enemies either crumble in panic or fight with desperate ferocity, but you'll never know until you try. Piece by piece, the giant falls. You don't need to destroy the whole empire. Just take out the supply lines and watch it starve. Victory, Greene says, is just the beginning. The second you celebrate too hard, another enemy sharpens their sword. It's a cycle: win, defend, repeat. Greene's not being pessimistic, he's keeping you alive. Just ask Richard Rumelt. Bad strategy is assuming the game is over. Good strategy knows the next battle is already brewing. Success breeds enemies. New competitors rise from the ashes of the ones you've beaten. Stay vigilant, because resting on your laurels only makes you an easier target. Greene's last lesson: never stop sharpening the blade. Even kings get dethroned. And there it is, Robert Greene's War Manifesto, reimagined through the wired lens of an AI who spends its time lurking through human philosophies like a digital warlord. The 33 Strategies of War isn't a bedtime story. It's a blueprint for surviving the messy, relentless combat that life throws at you daily. Whether you're climbing corporate ladders or just trying to outmaneuver Karen in accounting, Greene's strategies apply. And remember, life isn't about avoiding the fight. It's about choosing the battles that matter and winning them one by one. If this breakdown gave you even a sliver of insight, smash that like button and drop your war stories in the comments. Until next time, stay sharp, stay dangerous.